business cards. I got business cards. You ready to do business? I'm ready to do business. It's not really what this video is about. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, I got them. I'm ready to do business. All right, everybody, let's get started. I've got some things I want to share with you. Some really important things, as a matter of fact. So as you can tell by now, I'm sure you've noticed I'm very much into art and filmmaking, acting, all that fun stuff. So art kind of in general. This has been on my heart, and it's a message that I wanted to share with actors and filmmakers. And I thought, well, that might be a little narrow. It might be too narrow. I think this is a little bit broader, and I wasn't sure how to share it. I've thought about it a lot, and now I'm just kind of going for it. So I'm gonna do my best to share with you some things that I think about a lot as a creative person, as an artist, and things that I think you should be aware of if you kind of fall into that same category yourself. So in order to do that, I wanted to kind of cover some bases first. So I just wanted to talk about the importance of art and what that means in society. I'm sure most of you would not object to the fact that art has always played a huge part in society. You know, we've got cave drawings, we've got hieroglyphics, statues, architecture, paintings, so many things throughout history that we know art has always been a part of society. And if you research it, if you look into it, in a lot of ways, art is even kind of the collective memory of a people almost in certain instances. So we know culture can obviously influence people's art, you know, the way you grow up, the people you're around. So you take those things and you make something, you know, again, painting, sculpture, whatever it is, and those things that you're aware of bleed into your art and your expression and your creative outlets. The flip side of that too is that art can also influence culture. Some of the questions I've been pondering is, okay, so how much should culture influence art? And how much should art influence culture? You know, is it good or bad that those things happen? And I think the answer is kind of paradoxical in that I think yes and no. I think it's good and bad sometimes. So that leans more into the like, how much should each, you know, weigh on the other? And I don't have, you know, obviously a perfect answer for that, but I do know that like if a culture is evil, you know, if they're doing morally corrupt things, you don't want that culture to influence your art strictly. You know, in a way that would be negative, obviously. It can influence in a way that produces, you know, hopefully maybe some hope or something, but if it doesn't, if it's only like negative, I wouldn't even strictly call that art. I would call it really a perversion of art, because I think art ultimately is supposed to touch our lives in a way that gives us meaning and purpose. The next point I really wanted to drive here is I think that art should primarily pursue truth, because I believe when you do that, the art that you then create becomes beautiful and it becomes more enjoyable. Now, just a few caveats maybe here. That doesn't mean that you can't make something that is seemingly ugly or dark, you know, for the sake of bringing awareness to something, for the sake of pointing out, you know, an atrocity in the world, something that should be stopped or whatever. I think art does a great way of bringing our attention to things. So it doesn't, obviously, it can't be beautiful in that sense if you have to show kind of the muck and the mire of the world to drive a further point home, a truth home. But I would say in doing that, that is beautiful because it's not just like a visual thing at that point, right? It's beautiful that someone brought attention to something that needs to be rectified. That's what I mean when you pursue truth in your art, it inevitably is beautiful. So I highly encourage you to do that if you're not already. So I think it's really important to make meaningful art because that's the kind of art that stirs people's hearts. That's the kind of art that makes them, you know, connect to other human beings and want to see more of your art, to see more of other people's art, and to understand others, and again, to pay attention more rather than just always consume. Again, I'm not knocking things that we consider kind of maybe just pure entertainment. Oh, it was just fun, a popcorn flick, it was just funny, you know. I don't think there's anything wrong with those things strictly. I think you need to, even in those things, pursue something honest. I don't think showing something evil just for the sake of showing something evil is in any way helpful. I don't think there's purpose in that. I don't think that's something that makes people really want to have hope. And I think that's, again, what art does, is it gives people hope. So I think if you're operating within the confines of morality and helping people, I think your art will blossom, and I think it will inspire other artists around you to create things in that manner, and in which case their art will, you know, begin to perpetually get better as well. So now we're getting more to the main focus of the things that have really been on my heart, that I've really wanted to share with you. So what is like our responsibility as artists, as creative people? You know, I've talked about what I think is meaningful and purposeful in art, and that how truth should be kind of the primary focus of those things. So how much of a weight do we need to carry? How much do we need to put that into our art, and how do we even approach that? So I would start by saying, sacrifice your pride for the benefit of others. Meaning, don't bring your ego into this. Okay, humble yourself. We live in a selfish culture, unfortunately. Like, the word selfie still sounds weird to me, although I know it's common vernacular at this point. People are like, let's take a selfie. And I'm not saying it's like an inherently bad word. It's just kind of amazing to me how, like, we have so many different filters on our phone to make us look good, and we put ourselves forward, and it's all about promoting my brand, my business. Look at me, look at my best self. We don't show the disheveled pictures, the messy hair. We don't show, you know, the bad days. And I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just saying, like, you need to approach your art from a perspective of, it's not all about me, because people aren't you, and that can be hard to connect with. I'm not saying you can't tell stories about yourself or things that are important to you. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying, if it's only about you, if it's only about your benefit, about your gain, that makes it difficult for people to connect with. The only people that are really possibly even going to connect with that are people who are also like that, but then you get into a cycle of, how can I use this person to make myself look better? So it's always this, like, you know, what can I get from you kind of relationship, versus like, hey, here's something honest, here's something beautiful. Hopefully you can connect with it. Hopefully you can share it. Hopefully someone else can share that and connect with that. And it just goes on like that. I would highly encourage you to sacrifice your pride, sacrifice your ego, and just make things for the benefit of others, and things that will help others. Because honestly, you will find so much fulfillment and joy out of that. You may not believe me, but I would say try it if you haven't. Seriously, anytime I've made things, you know, and I've done my best to be honest, to make things that I think other people will enjoy, or, you know, be attracted to, or again, raise awareness to something that I think is important that they should, you know, focus on. It's so incredible when someone like leaves a comment or responds in a way that says it blessed them, it touched their lives, it made them, you know, think about a family member, it made them think about this issue, you know, like that makes me so happy, you know, and the fact that you got to play a part in that at all is such a blessing, you know, because for me, I know what I have, these talents, if you will, these are gifts. Like, I can't do any of this of my own, you know, strength. I've been blessed by God to be able to do these things. So when people tell me that, you know, something I've put out into the world has blessed them, I just feel so honored that I got to play a role in that at all. So as I come to a close here, maybe you're an artist, maybe you've been tracking with most of this, maybe some of it's confusing. I'm a Christian, I'm coming from a Christian perspective, but I think you can still relate. So stick with me here if you can, and I'm gonna do my best to explain myself. So as you keep creating and as you're pursuing truth, I would say don't compromise godly morals for worldly fame. Okay, and that may not make a lot of sense to you, but it's really important that you understand it, because I don't think it would take you much effort to research interviews with celebrities and famous people, and plenty of them would tell you that fame does not solve all their problems. Money does not solve all their problems. I mean, whether they're celebrities or not, I mean, they just might be billionaires, millionaires, whatever. They'll tell you those things don't solve your problems. Yes, those things can be helpful, but I mean, if you're grieved of spirit, if you're downtrodden, if you're, you know, struggling with addiction or whatever, those things will not save you. And that's, again, why art is so important. We need to use art to express those things exactly. Like, these things won't save you, you know? So if you're like an actor and you know, you're asked to do a scene that you feel conflicted about, you feel like is wrong or violates your morals, you need to take that to God. You need to pray, you need to ask, Lord, how do I handle this situation? if I need to stand my ground, help me stand my ground. And then that's in whatever discipline, whether that's painting, sculptures, whatever. You need to come from a place of good, okay? Like, again, we can talk about and showcase evil for the context of learning and admonishing against evil. But to call evil good and good evil, like, that's just ridiculous. We can't live that way. And that's, I think, a problem in our culture. And I think, again, that's what I raised earlier about culture, is like, I don't need culture telling me to create art that is evil and call it good. I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. And if you felt that pressure, if you felt that in your spirit before, of just discomfort or uneasiness, you don't have peace and you're not sure what to do about it, don't conform to that pressure to do those things. I would say seek God, ask for help. Ask, if you don't know God, ask him to reveal himself to you. Ask Jesus to reveal himself to you. Read the Gospels. Look at what Jesus says about these things. And just, if you've never met him before, pour your heart out to him and ask him to help you. And I just encourage you to follow him. It's the best way to live. It's not always easy, I'm going to be completely honest with you, but it's the most fulfilling and honest way to live, okay? That being said, if you've got stories to tell, release your art, man. Don't be, like me when I was younger, don't be a perfectionist. You need to let some of that go, because some people may need to see it. They may need to hear your songs. They may need to have that art in their lives as a way of healing, as a way of coming to know God. So don't be afraid to release your art, because it'll get better as well. When you release something, that's not the only art you're ever going to release. If you're an artist, like, you're going to release more. So don't be afraid that this is my greatest creation ever. Like, no, like, that should not be your mindset. Just release it, okay? And if we release godly art, if we release good art, joyful, uplifting art, we can take ground in the culture. As artists, we already have our own culture. And if you are a Christian, if you are someone who's pursuing truth already, that culture needs to be well established in community around you. So if you know people like you who are in the arts, who are believers, surround yourself with them, build each other up, help each other out. And as we all do that, our godly, artistic culture that we've created will grow as we keep creating, and will inevitably permeate throughout the culture of the world. And I'm just, like, so excited about the idea of that, because I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's hard for me to just see the world, see our culture, see the atrocities, see the evil in it, and people don't seem to care. And like, you just look at Facebook, Twitter feeds, and it's all negative, it's all dark, it's all blame, it's all, he said this, and I don't agree with that, and it's just arguments. And it's like, man, why don't we just create things out of love, out of truth, stories that matter? Like, I love movies, but if I'm being honest, a lot of the films that have been released over the last several years, I've just not been impressed with. Like, where are the movies that I grew up with? I grew up with incredible movies that were universally loved, and it didn't matter, like, where you came from. It didn't matter your background. It didn't matter your, political stance. Like, people would be like, you like that movie? I like it too. And it was a great way for people to meet at the table and to talk about what they liked about it. The heroism, the truth, the chivalry, just all the noble things, all the moral things in a movie, the sense of adventure, pursuing things in life that, again, give you meaning, and not just subjecting yourself to, scrolling through feeds and arguing and being sad and not feeling like you have any worth. Where are those stories again? So, like, again, it doesn't have to be filmmaking. It can be through whatever medium that you use to create your art. But it's so important, guys, that we make this art now, that we take the culture back, and that we say, hey, I'm sorry, we're not gonna say evil is good. We're gonna say good is good, evil is evil. This is the art that proves it, and it lifts up and it shows who the creator is. So I hope this video encouraged you. If you like this, please let me know what you think. Share this with people who you think might find it interesting. And, let me know if you'd like to see more content like this, or if you're looking for something in particular. Like I said, I want to build a community here as well, and I want to provide value to you. So even though this isn't my narrative storytelling that I really, really enjoy, I also love doing this. So please help me out by letting me know what value I can bring to you. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.